try. If you need advice, let me simplify. If he don't love you anymore, just walk your fine self out the door. I do my hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Head talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Ooh, girl, need to kick off your shoes. Gotta take a deep breath, time to focus on you. All the big fights, long nights that you've been through. I got a bottle of tequila I've been saving for you. Boss up and change your life. You can have it all, no sacrifice. I know we did you wrong, we can make it right. So go and let it all hang out tonight. Cause we don't love you anymore. So walk your fine self out the door. And do your hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Yeah. Listen, if he don't love you anymore, then walk your fine self out the door. And do your hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Hair talk, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell. Feeling good as hell. Baby, how you feeling? Feeling good as hell.
All right, we are ready to kick off. Susan, Devin, are we ready to start? Mike, yes. Wow, this is amazing. As I was watching the room start filling up, we have excellent participation. Hi, everyone. My name is Tom Tao. I am the chairperson of the Presidential Scholars Foundation and Alumni Association. I'm actually dialing in from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, which shows you how international the Presidential Scholars alumni were all scattered around the world. I think we're one of the few organizations that's intergenerational. When President Lyndon Johnson started the program, he made sure there was gender balance, and we have diversity among different fields of interest. We are, I think, an organization that really represents the future not only of the U.S., but also of the world. I'm absolutely delighted that everyone's here. A couple of orders of business. Again, my name's Tom. I'm class of 1988 from New York. So if there's any scholars here from New York, please wave your hand. I'd love to meet you. Kathy there is from my state as well. Fantastic. There's many from New York. I see some of the names popping up, and I feel like I know you already. We got to meet each other through LinkedIn, and please join our LinkedIn group. So I've got a couple of orders of business first. One is to remind everyone that if you could rename yourself on Zoom, put your year and your state. I think that'd make it easy for us to all kind of connect with each other. I think that's the first thing. And the second one is, my second order of business is really to welcome everybody, the class of 2021. Give yourselves a big hand. Thank you for dialing in and joining this week of connection. I feel like I've connected with some of you already on LinkedIn. I know John and others have connected with you on Facebook, and we're going to do more connections. Okay, the whole purpose of this week of connection and today's kickoff session is to bring you into the larger alumni community. Okay, I'm very sad that we can't meet in person this year. We weren't able to meet last year either, but it is my sincere hope that we will meet shortly in person so you can see this amazing community that I was just talking about in person. Okay? We can be a network for you, and especially in this time of need, I think the Presidential Scholars community is more important now than ever before. And I think you're going to hear some great stories. I'm about to kick it off soon to our intro greeting. But with that, let me just say, for me, Faith Bryony, one of our key organizers of the Presidential Scholars Alumni Association and the foundation, really said it something best. The Presidential Scholars, joining this community is like finding your tribe. We are a very interesting group of people, and sometimes it's hard to connect with others, but today I think you'll find your tribe, people that you're going to be able to connect with and that you can lean on. You're going to hear that story later from Jamie, Congressman Raskin. But I just want to share another one. I was so struck. We recently hosted an alumni talk with Michelle Wu, who I don't know if you guys know. She's actually running for the mayor of Boston. And she shared some great stories on how the Presidential Scholars community helped her. If you get a chance, go online, download that video. And again, you're going to hear it today. And so without further ado, Devin, are we ready? I want to now hand it over to Congressman Jamie Raskin, whom you may have seen recently on TV. He's been doing some very important work for the country. And you guys go online and look him up. He is a Presidential Scholar alumni. He's a congressman, and he's doing great things. And he's now going to officially welcome you to the Presidential Scholars community. Devin, are we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Awesome. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. It's Congressman Jamie Raskin from Maryland's beautiful 8th Congressional District, Montgomery County, Frederick County, and Carroll County. And I'm delighted to have a moment to welcome the incoming class of Presidential Scholars around the country. I'm sorry that because of the lingering effects of COVID-19, you guys are not able to be together in Washington, but I know you are very much together on Zoom and virtually here, and you will undoubtedly, I hope, find the opportunity all to get together, because I'm certain it's an extraordinary group of people. I know it was an extraordinary group of people when I had the privilege of being one of the Presidential Scholars back in 1979, and I'm sure that the talents and the gifts of the young people have only increased dramatically since then. And I know you've got these at-large Presidential Scholars who are chosen for their artistic and musical and creative prowess, in addition to the others being chosen at the state level. But I just wanted to tell you, I met my best friend at the Presidential Scholars convocation back then. We were all gathered at Georgetown University, and I met Michael Timothy Anderson from Louisiana, who is one of the, I guess he was the male Presidential Scholar from Louisiana. We met and we hung out, and I showed him around Washington, D.C., being a local boy. And he told me the entire plot of Apocalypse Now, which he had just seen. I think I told him the plot of Rocky II, but we ended up being roommates together when we went off to Harvard, and also again at Harvard Law School, and we were best men at each other's weddings and all that kind of stuff. And he continues to be my best buddy. So I owe a lot to the Presidential Scholars. And I'm certain that you guys will find your very close friends and some wonderful people in the program. And who knows, maybe you can even find your spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something online, maybe even, become virtual pen pals or whatever it is. But it's really a remarkable program that is very committed to recognizing young people who have thrown everything they've got into their studies and into their work and to their extracurricular commitments. And that's great. And it makes sure that all of you are engaged in the project of democratic self-government, because that is the magic of America, and it is also the precondition for America being America. And we've got to remember the first three words of the Constitution are the most important words of the Constitution: we the people. That's how it starts off. The beautiful preamble, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and preserve to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, do hereby ordain and establish the Constitution of the United States of America. And then from there, it flows right into Article 1 of the Constitution, setting forth that the whole legislative power is vested in the Congress of the United States. And then it spells out all of the ample, expansive powers of Congress to regulate commerce domestically, internationally, to declare war, to approve budgets and taxes, and on and on and on. Even in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, and all other purposes necessary and proper to the execution of the foregoing purposes. And then after that, you get the president in Article 2, and the president's job is what? To take care that the laws are faithfully executed. So remember, and of course, I'm going to sound a little partial here because I am a member of Congress, but Congress is the Article 1 branch, and we are the representatives of the people. And which is not necessarily an argument that you all have to go out and run for Congress, but please do remember that this is a representative government. We don't have a series or a succession of kings and queens and royals, none of that here. In fact, our Constitution says there shall be no titles of nobility. And we, of course, were conceived in an insurgency against the kings and the queens and the merger of church and state and the use of religion and the church by those in power to control the population. We got rid of all of that, and we have an Enlightenment Constitution with the free people, with the separation of church and state, with free exercise of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and the people's representatives governing. But it does require, as Thomas Jefferson said, for the people to be educated and for the people to be engaged and involved. And so the way that we are going to defeat all of the dark forces of this century that are a hangover from the last century, the authoritarianism and the racism and anti-Semitism and the misogyny, all of that stuff, the way we're going to do that is through education. And politics, government at their best are all about education. They're about teaching the people the process and the mechanics, the issues, and how we're going to move forward, and having reasonable, civilized debate, not violence, not mob rule, but discussion and debate on the theory that everybody participating together will produce the best result for all of us. So I thank you all for being presidential scholars. I commend you on the extraordinary work that doubtless went into your arriving at this august place in your young careers. I do urge you to find a way to get to be friends with the other presidential scholars who are out there. And remember that there are preceding generations of presidential scholars who are here to encourage you, to help you, and to guide you along. And with that, I yield back. And I do want to thank Tom Shao, who's the chair of the foundation board, and all of those presidential scholar alumni who've stayed actively involved with this great group. And I turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. Again, Congressman Raskin, as you know, has been kind of in the headlines for doing a lot of work for the United States. Again, you're all presidential scholars. Please go online. And he's also actually recently had a personal family tragedy as well. But again, Congressman Raskin, I think, is a representation of presidential scholars and what we can become. Congressman Raskin talked about other scholars doing great public service for the country. And I don't know how many of the new scholars know this, but the current Attorney General of the United States, Judge Merrick Garland, is also an alumni. So again, you belong to a very special group of folks. And I've always had a saying, And I know a lot of you feel like, how was I chosen? Did I deserve this? A lot of us deal with imposter syndrome, but the reality is, I've always said, with early recognition comes responsibility. And so again, keep in mind, there are many, many scholars, alumni, and many of them are here in this group. They've taken time out of their schedules to officially welcome you to the community. So again, there's many of them here. If you go into the group, you'll see them. Again, I want to thank them as well. And as Congressman Raskin said, all the people, the volunteers who have put this together to make this week a success for the class of 2021. And now when we talk about creating this community, connecting with others, I'm so delighted to introduce Dr. John Knox, who really, without John, there is no Presidential Scholars Foundation and Alumni Association. He has played a leading role in making sure we stay connected. For the class of 2021, did you know that it was only a couple of years ago, right, John? Before there was an organized alumni association to continue that enthusiasm momentum after the national recognition program. And so I can't think of anybody better to hand it off to now to introduce you than John Knox from the great state of Alabama.
Originally. Thanks, everybody. I'm John Knox. I'm a professor of geography and atmospheric sciences at the University of Georgia. I study the weather. I'm also a 1983 presidential scholar from Alabama, and I'm the chair of the Alumni Association Committee and the vice chair of the Presidential Scholars Foundation. And I've been involved with the alumni activities since they started in 1996. And the current form of this organization has been around since 2004. So we've been around a while, and we're getting better every year. So what I'd like to say to everybody is, first of all, welcome to the coolest alumni organization on the planet. We're unique. Some of us have the same experience because we were scholars in the same year, but most of us, that's not actually true for us alums. So this isn't like a high school or college reunion where you talk about the same teachers you had or the same football games or anything like that. We're different, and we're different in a really good way. All of us as presidential scholars have been charged by our nation's leaders to do good and fight for justice and equality at our homes and around the world. So when we get together, we spend, maybe 15 minutes tops saying, hey, what happened at your National Recognition Week or program or whatever? And then it's like, okay, let's do something. Let's do something important. And at the same time, we also realize that we're around friends. This is home, as Tom said with regard to one of our alums, Faith Briney's statements. These are your peeps. The presidential scholars, in my opinion, are the most concentrated collection of talented, multi-talented, passionately curious, funny, and usually nice people you'll ever be around. Even if you go on to an Ivy League school, this will be kind of the group that you may identify with. Even if you go on to be a Rhodes Scholar, which a grand total of 67 presidential scholars have been Rhodes Scholars, the breadth of this group is really amazing. It's the 50 states and the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico and the territories and Americans abroad. 50% women, as Tom said, with artists and musicians and dancers and CTE scholars, as well as scientists, poets, and the like. But it's really not overwhelming because most of us don't become famous, and we aren't into that anyway. We aren't the show horses of the world, most of us. We're the workhorses, the people who make good things happen and keep our institutions running, while sometimes other people take the credit. Because for us, our nation is more important than who gets credit. And because of that, I'd like to tell you a story about the picture behind me. You're wondering who these people are. And this is from page 151 of our 50th anniversary publication that our organization published in 2014. And since I was editor-in-chief of that, I am required now to hit a link. And so you can find that document right there at that link. All right, I'm guessing that some people recognize who's behind me on to the left of my head. Anybody recognize that guy? Yeah, that looks like Bill Clinton, although he looks a little younger. Yeah, this was when he was governor of Arkansas. But who's the person on the right? Well, that's the story I got to tell you. His name was Roosevelt Thompson, or Rosie Thompson. Okay, it's rare when you hear about somebody being called 1 in a million, and it's an understatement. But on many levels, Rosie Thompson was even rarer than a 1 in a million person. He was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. He was the son of an African Methodist Episcopal Zion minister and a teacher. Rosie was one of us. He was a 1980 presidential scholar, and then he was a scholar advisor in 1981 and 1982. Let me put his accomplishments in academic perspective. So here's a stat. Since the spring of 1975, there have been almost 140 million US high school graduates and over 57 million four-year college graduates. And of those, just over 8,000 have been named presidential scholars like Rosie. And about 2,600 have been named Truman Scholars, which you may have heard of, and over 1,400 have been named Rhodes Scholars. Now let me do you the Venn diagram of all this. Out of all those people, only 10 people out of 140 million high school grads and 57 million college graduates, only 10 have ever been a presidential scholar and a Truman Scholar and a Rhodes Scholar. And you're looking at one of those 10, Rosie Thompson. Oh, I should mention, for anybody interested in law school, Rosie also made a perfect on the LSAT. He just kind of walked in and took it and made it perfect. Bill Clinton, who was a mentor to Rosie in Arkansas, remarked that Rosie's selection as a Rhodes Scholar must have been the easiest decision the selection committee ever had to make. And that included Bill. However, Rosie never made it to Oxford. When he was within weeks of graduating, as he was returning to Yale University near dawn at the end of spring break in 1984, a truck crossed into his lane as he was driving back on the New Jersey Turnpike and killed him instantly. His friends, some of whom were already predicting that Rosie would be the first African-American president of the US and who were preparing to campaign for him in 2008, think of that date, were heartbroken. It was really a loss to the nation when Rosie was killed. He was going to be Barack Obama before there was a Barack Obama. But when people talk about Rosie, they talk about him not just as a scholar, but as a friend. Another presidential scholar who served with him as an advisor, Marie Lynn Miranda, who's now provost of Notre Dame, said this about getting to know Rosie when they were advisors, and this is in our book. She said, quote, "Then and during the years that followed, we talked often about our desire to serve the world, our obligation to give back. Rosie was humble in manner, but he had a lot of power in that humility. You could feel the energy he brought. He helped you to be your best self. He made you better. It was the purest and truest friendship I have ever had." In fact, Marie Lynn named her son after Rosie Thompson. And so, years later, when the Presidential Scholars Foundation began plans for awards to recognize those among us who have excelled in service to society, we decided to honor the too brief life of Rosie Thompson. I think his story deserves to be known better, and that's why I'm telling it. And we should carry on his devotion to service in his name. So we didn't name our awards after an unrelated billionaire donor. We named them after people who have loved the scholars and whom scholars loved, because that's who we are. We want to be Rosie. So if I've interested you enough in our group, here's some of what our Alumni Association Committee does. We gather for meetups, both virtual and in person, in Seattle and Boston, and even Switzerland and South Africa. We've done in person all those places. And we've been doing online hangouts every 2 weeks since COVID struck. We organize and host Ask Me Anything events online. Matt Heisel's in charge of that. He's on here tonight with prominent and also up and coming alumni on a wide variety of topics. We administer and post frequently on social media, such as Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. I've been on Facebook and LinkedIn during this meeting, and Derek Wong is the newest member of our LinkedIn page because I was putting him in just before I started talking. We have nearly 2,100 alums on our Facebook page. It's called United States Presidential Scholars, and over 1,400 on the similar page on LinkedIn. And you'll find information on Facebook for our meetup events and as well as on LinkedIn. One program we're really proud of is the Seed Grant Program, which is now in its 3rd year. We provide seed money to alumni, young and older, to do things that would be hard to fund otherwise and that can do good locally or globally. Maybe you'll be the next winner. We recognize youth and good ideas. We also organize mentorships between alumni with shared career interests. That's something else Matt does. And we work with the Scholar advisors and collaborate to plan events like this week's worth of activities. So we're here to make being a presidential scholar a lifelong experience starting this week. And to explain more about that is Devin Srivastava, a 2017 scholar from South Carolina and 2021 Scholar Advisor lead. Devin, take it away.
Hello to everyone. As John said, my name is Devin Srivastava, and I'm so excited to welcome all of the class of 2021 scholars. The week we've all been waiting for is here, and I know you're just as excited as I am to get the festivities started. So yes, as John mentioned, I'm the lead advisor this year, and I've been super, super lucky to work with an outstanding team of advisors and alumni to plan some fun, exciting, and hopefully meaningful events this week. But before I get into those, I want to share with you a little bit about my own experience with the Presidential Scholars community. So I've got a little story for you. So on my first day of college in the dining hall, I somewhat recognized this kid from my time at the Scholars Weekend. And I took a chance. And so I went up to him and I asked, are you so-and-so? And he looked absolutely flabbergasted and was like, how do you know me? And I was like, I recognize you from the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program Weekend. And to my delight, he ended up becoming one of my best friends throughout college. In fact, I just recently graduated and we took a trip together after graduation. And on the trip, we sort of reminisced about how we became friends and reflected on how our paths crossed. And over the years, this type of scenario has repeated itself multiple times in the various communities that I've been a part of. So 2021 scholars and all other scholars on the call, my hope for you is the same. I hope you find many lifelong friendships through this inspiring community of scholars. So to help facilitate this, all 2021 scholars have been assigned an advisor, and your advisor is here to support you and help you get to know other scholars in a small group setting. And then we've also designed this new week of connections, which we're kicking off tonight with some super exciting events. So I quickly just want to share my screen with our events that we have planned, just to give a little pitch for each of them. So tomorrow night, we'll be having a speed friending event, so a chance to get to know some future friends. On Wednesday night, we'll be having roundtable discussions and Ask Me Anythings that John was referring to earlier with distinguished guests. On Thursday, we'll be meeting up by your college choice or your next year plans. So hopefully to help familiarize yourself with those who you'll definitely be running into in the future. And then on Saturday, we have a celebration with a bunch of different fun activities planned. And lastly, on Sunday night, we have a recurring game night with all scholars. And so all 2021 scholars are invited to join this event. And so you can see this schedule and more on our website. And one last thing that I just want to pitch to you guys. So to all the 2021 scholars on the call, earlier today, you received an email and you'll be receiving daily email blasts with what events happening that evening by Eastern time and anything else that's important. So just a couple other things to be on the lookout for. So if you haven't joined our class of 2021 Presidential Scholars GroupMe, that link is in your inbox. All of these links are in your inbox. All the 2021 scholars have been invited to apply to speak at the Saturday celebration and Welcome to Alumni event. We have 3 different categories. We're super excited to hear from you. So there's an application in your inbox. We're also going to be collecting graduation slides to celebrate you. So definitely upload your slide by Thursday, and that link once again is in your inbox. And then lastly, we have a super exciting sort of scholar talent and skit showcase, which is a tradition for the Presidential Scholars National Recognition Program. And so my advising group is already ready, hopping on the planning for that. So definitely work with your advising group for that. So again, congratulations to all the 2021 scholars as you guys join this wonderful Presidential Scholars community. And I can't wait to get to know you guys more at our events this week and beyond. So John, back over to you.
Thank you so much, Devin. All right. Now we go to Scholar Advisor Noah Lee, a 2018 Arts Scholar from New Jersey, who will now speak on behalf of the CEO of Young Arts, Jewel Malone. Noah.
Great. Thank you so much, John, for the introduction. As he had mentioned, my name is Noah Lee, and I was a Presidential Scholar in the Arts in 2018 from New Jersey, as well as a 2016 National Young Arts winner. So on the behalf of National Young Arts Foundation, we would love to congratulate all of you for this incredible achievement. For those who are unfamiliar, Young Arts is an arts organization that is dedicated to seek young artistic talent across the country and provide them with the necessary support to thrive in pursuing artistic careers. I am honored to have participated in the National Young Arts Week in Miami, Florida, and to have received the Gold Prize in Classical Music at the Young Arts competition, which was held during the week-long program. To describe my experience with Young Arts as transformative is truly an understatement. They provided me with the opportunity to meet and collaborate with some of the most brilliant musicians across the country, as well as attend live performances and observe the exceptional work of young artists from other disciplines. And my exposure to other art forms really allowed me to appreciate the unique elements that distinguish different disciplines, like watching the exact precision of each step and movement that a dancer took, or hearing the length that an opera singer could sustain a frequency high enough to probably break glass was just mind-blowing to me. Yet, even with all of these differences and these performances just help me recognize that all artists share a common yet powerful mission of revealing and conveying emotion and expression. And from this experience of recognizing the distinct yet interconnected qualities between disciplines, it allowed me to gain a deeper admiration towards other art forms and artists. But by the end of the week, I remember thinking to myself, I just wish I had an opportunity to collaborate with these artists from different disciplines, not just watch their live performances. And fortunately, my question was actually answered through the amazing opportunity to participate in the Presidential Scholars in the Arts program, which was only made possible by the special partnership between Young Arts and the Presidential Scholars. This collaboration gave me and many young artists the amazing opportunity to perform in large-scale interdisciplinary production. And this interdisciplinary aspect that the program pursued really challenged the boundaries of traditional art. And by combining the most powerful elements of each discipline and drawing unique perspectives from different artists, we are able to create art that is even more compelling and impactful. And more importantly, we are so inspired to carry this experience with us in our search to explore the limitless possibilities of art. Also, on a side note, I also met my best friend through the Presidential Scholars Program. And like Devin, I also recently went on vacation with him. So that's very interesting to hear. Anyway, to conclude, I would love to share a short excerpt from the production that the 2021 Presidential Scholars in the Arts performed. This video was directed by Michael Arden, a 2001 Presidential Scholar in the Arts. And as soon as the clip is finished, I'll post the full YouTube link for the production in the chat box. So please do not forget to check that out when you can. So let me see if I can quickly share. Great. Okay, can everyone give me a thumbs up if they can hear and see everything? Great.
Hello. So these are the flowers. They're called China roses. They're my inspiration for this period of time, this new chapter in our life. I feel like there's been a lot going on, and a lot of like new things are starting. Like we just graduated, we're about to start college. I just got a new camera, and like I just feel I don't know, I feel inspiring. I feel like a bit of like newness, you know. And like these flowers have never been here before, and these flowers have never been this big before. Like we've had this little petite garden for a while, and it's always, I don't know, it's never been this great. Like this is the biggest these China roses have ever been, and I think it's amazing, and it's really symbolic of the time now. And I like to come here in the morning on these stairs and just think and drink coffee. But here are the flowers that are inspiring me this week.
Roses made me think about new beginnings, specifically for myself as an artist. I'm a digital.
All right, Tom, back over to you.
Hey, Noah, thank you so much for that. And I also, at this point, just want to give a shout out again to Young Arts. Again, Young Arts has been one of the most unwavering supporters of the Presidential Scholars Program. And again, I feel like we are all enriched, Noah, by the strong support and the participation of Young Arts. And again, it has been a great pleasure of mine and the board to work with Jewel, who couldn't be here tonight. Tonight, yeah, my morning. And again, Noah, please give our best to Jewel and the Young Arts. So we very much appreciate that. And before I turn it over to the next portion of the program, I just wanted, we had a great idea. So I wanted to give a heads up to all the class of 21 scholars. We're going to take a group shot, a screenshot. And so again, I just want to give everybody a little time. So, you may want to tidy up or whatever. We're going to do a group screenshot at the end. I think that'd be a great idea. So just give yourself some time, and we're going to do that at the end of tonight's program. And so let's do that. And now we're going to turn it over to the interactive portion of the program. Again, your co-hosts are going to be Mike Fleisch and Kathy Schneider, who I've had the great pleasure of working with. I can't think of two better people, dedicated supporters, who really only care about others. And so with that, Kathy, Mike, you've got a great interactive program. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Tom. As Tom said, I'm Kathy Schneider, a Scholar alum from New York, as Tom is, and an alumni board member. Congressman Raskin and Tom and John have all been encouraging you to connect with one another through this week and going forward. And we're here to help with that. My main focus on the alumni board is on meetups, which started in person around 2009. Since then, we've expanded into more than 10 regional groups, which go around the world, staging events. You can find these groups via our main Presidential Scholars Facebook group. During COVID, we've adapted by adding virtual meetups, and my fellow New York alum, Amrit Himgarani, will be giving you a taste of that experience later this week. We welcome everyone, and we look forward to your participation in our future meetups in all formats. Now, whether in person or virtual, meetups are at their core a personally interactive experience. So now I'd like to introduce my alumni board comrade, Mike Fleisch, who is an expert facilitator, and he'll bring us together in a new and different way. Mike, it's all yours.
Thank you, Kathy. I don't know if it's new or different. Everybody's getting pretty used to Zooms, I think, but hopefully it'll be fun at least. So thank you all for being here tonight. Part of what we talked about is that you can watch a video, you can go on YouTube, you can learn from somebody that way, and a lot of us have done a lot of that over the past couple of years. But it's a unique thing. Prioritize the same time together and get to spend time together and actually have a conversation. And so that's what we'd love to invite you to now. Is we're going to create some breakouts and give you a chance to actually just meet with a few other scholars and people who have joined the call tonight. So we have a couple prompts that we're going to put in the chat. And so I'll read those now, and you can go back to them in the chat if you like. But you're going to have around 10 minutes. We invite you to this conversation. If you want to take just a second to say your name and where you're from, or your year, if you're from another year, and just make sure you know enough about each other to have a short conversation. We're going to have around 10 minutes in breakouts. But here's the prompt. How do you think differently about learning after 2020 and 2021? So people have had many different learning experiences, certainly school, certainly in life. It's been a heck of a couple of years. And so we thought that might be a rich conversation topic. How do you think differently about learning after the past 2 years? And then what do you think education is for? You heard Congressman Raskin talking about the importance of education and the power of education and how important it is to our country. And so we're curious, what do you think education is for? And so you're going to have just around 10 minutes to talk with a few other people about that. Make sure you're giving each other enough space, that you're hearing from everybody. And if you would, try your best to take a few notes, because at the end of that time, we'll come back to plenary here together, and we'll invite you to share out, whether in the chat or by sharing verbally. So if you'd like to, just take enough notes that you can remember what you might want to share with the rest of us. So if that's good enough, then Devin, if you're up for it, please open the breakouts and have a good time. Thanks.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Mike, ready to kick us off?
Yes, I probably, like many of you, did not want to leave my room. We had a really good conversation, and yeah, best of luck to all of you in the next year and beyond. But what an amazing to get to all meet each other and say hi. So thanks for making that time. We just have a few minutes, but I'd love to know, and we'd love to capture a little bit of what you talked about. So if anybody's willing to throw, especially in the chat, but also if you want to raise your hand, it's not like not like a bullet list, like what did you come up with, what were your answers, but anything that anybody would like to share, any insights, any surprises, something funny that came up, something that was puzzling, or some connection, whatever it is. But any answers or interesting things that came up in your conversations, you can share them in the chat or raise your hand if you would. And yeah, Catherine, please.
Sure. So I was in room 2, and we were all 2021 scholars. And what I found interesting after taking a couple of notes from other people is that they found that being interactive was a big key in the way that we saw a shift in 2020 to 2021 learning. There was such a necessity to do that because it's harder when you can't always be in person. And the communication skills really needed to be there. So it made people think more about what they were saying and doing and how they were doing that so that they could communicate with us. And what I found really interesting about the second part, what is learning for? One of the members, Tess from DC, had said, learning's lifelong. It's not something that you just stuff into a class. You can do it forever. But as a counterpoint, Charlotte, who was one of the creative arts students from California, said, yes, but the education system that we have can be outdated. And this year exposed a lot of those kinds of gaps. So I thought that we had an interesting balance of that. And my personal take on it is just that we learn to help others learn to be a better society, because that's what we need to do. It's just something I think that as presidential scholars, we feel this need to make things better. And that's why we learn, because we love it and we want to help people.
That's awesome, Catherine. Thank you. The idea that learning is about helping other people learn, you know, mutual learning is so important. It's hard to imagine learning as a totally solitary exercise. So thanks for that. Dennis, I see your hand up. I'll just say we just have a couple minutes. And so I'm going to call on you in just a second, Dennis. But for everyone else, I see some awesome answers in the chat. We are capturing these and making something with this that we'll share later. So if you're up for it, please do share as much. We're going to leave the call open for a little bit after. So if you want to come back and add something in there after, welcome to do that too. So Dennis, go ahead. And if we have time, Casey, go ahead.
All right. I think related to what Catherine's been talking about, my group talked a lot also about just how this past year we've really kind of broadened our view on what education is. So one thing that Lucas brought up that I thought was really important was he talked about the fact that when we go into online learning, it really made him realize the fact that we need to have education be accessible to everybody. And he's talking about he knows some neurodivergent people in his life where it's harder for them to adapt to this new online learning than it is for some other people. So something that he realized that was important is the fact that sometimes we need to pay attention to what we're making accessible in our learning. And then something else that was pointed out is the fact that kind of this past year has helped us realize that we need to use education to improve the world and not just improve ourselves.
That's awesome, Dennis. Thank you. That is a valuable insight, and I hope it sticks with everyone here for like decades. Thank you. I'm not sure if it's Cassie or Casey, but please share.
Yeah, so my group mainly talked about how the impact of the environment which we are educated in and how that kind of can direct the way that education has an impact on us and what education means to us. And for me personally, I found that this year with this kind of lack of human connection just really emphasized how education isn't, you know, just for education. I think that education is really, the goal of education is to create connections between people and to better communicate between people. Because, you know, as people, we're all so different and we all come from different backgrounds and different traditions and different cultures, different languages. And from a completely educational standpoint, you know, we take foreign languages as a requirement in college. You know, we take math classes, we take social sciences, all to better understand other people and to better communicate with them. And I think that as an artist, as a pianist, I have my life goal kind of is to create this connection between the audience and myself as a performer. And this year, having a lack of that, it kind of emphasized this need for connection even within our education, you know, kind of having that immediate reaction from a teacher or from a student who's sitting next to you, you know, collaborating on a problem set or collaborating in a performance, you know, talking to a teacher and just, you know, asking them about their daily lives, really, kind of how important this kind of communication and interaction and connection is to education and how that can shape the way that we perceive education. So I thought that was kind of one of the biggest impacts of the lack of, you know, connection that we had in the past year or so on education in general.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I wish we could go on for another hour on this. This is a really amazing beginning of a conversation, but thank you all. Thank you all for putting your comments in the chat. Emma, I saw you had a comment. Please do share that in the chat. I will also just make a personal plea to join Wednesday evening. We're going to have a conversation really focused on human and planetary health, and it intersects so powerfully with education. So I would view that as a focus and also continuation of hopefully what we started to open up here. So thank you all for that. We will be sharing. I have a couple colleagues on the call. So Nicole and Scott and Alicia are capturing this and building something. So we'll be sharing back a visual we're making from this later in the week. But thank you all for this, and I'll hand it back to.
Great. Again, Kathy, Mike, fantastic. Mike is a master at what he does. He does these great events for presidential scholars. Again, I'm always amazed at how he does that. And Mike also draws at the same time. And Mike, we're going to have to bring you out. We're going to do an interactive session for the 60th anniversary. And I was already telling my group that's something we're all looking forward to. Look, these are great. Again, you're the COVID impacted class. So I know for a lot of the other alum here, we feel bad because NRP was such an important part, at least for me. Again, I echo what the other scholars have mentioned. It was a transformative experience. We're trying to replicate as much as that, as you can tell, virtually, but there will be a chance. We're going to see each other. We're going to get through COVID, and we're going to all see each other in person. One of the key dates, again, 2024 will be our 60th anniversary. Congressman Raskin spoke at our 55th. So hopefully we'll see each other in DC. And before we end this session, I just want to say two things. One is we have great programs lined up tomorrow, right, Devin? Speed friending. You've seen the agenda, the lineup. This has been all done with great love, as you can tell. I mean, we feel for you. We're all scholars. And we really want to welcome you to this community. I mean, as I was talking with my group, Cassie was in that group, the human interaction, we're all craving for that. So let presidential scholars be your network, be your community, be your tribe. And before we end, I'm hoping one thing. Devin, can we ask everyone to turn on the screens? Let's do a group photo shot. And I want to, shout it out in the LinkedIn groups. I was just talking to Stephen Marabello there. He was the first guy to sign up on LinkedIn. And I know I've been keeping a running track. I want to get all 161 class of 2021 scholars on LinkedIn because that's my preferred social media. I know John's the master of Facebook, but let's do that. And with that, Devin, hey, let's see, can we get this all on and let's do a group shot? And you're going to do that?
Absolutely, yes. So I will take it in 2 screenshots. So let's go into gallery view quickly. So everybody give me your biggest smile.
All right, are we ready? We'll do a serious one and then a fun one, and we'll do 2 screens, and I'm going to post it up on LinkedIn. So
fantastic.
All right, let's do a serious one first,
shout-outs.
Devin. Yeah, you tell us when you're ready.
All right, serious smiles
camera.
first. Yep. All right, and one more. There we go. Okay, and now, Tom, per your request, a goofy one?
Can we do a silly one? Yeah, whatever. Any for freestyle.
All right, 1, 2, 3. And one more. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I really appreciate the participation. Before I turn it over to Devin, this was amazing. The participation is fantastic. So many people to thank. I know for the scholars, you don't sometimes understand all the hard work that goes into it. So again, I want to thank everybody. And with that, this brings it to a conclusion. Devin, did you want to just say anything for tomorrow?
All 2021 scholars on this call back for 9 p.m. speed friending. Lots of exciting stuff planned. And we look forward to seeing all 2021 scholars and alumni on Wednesday night and at the rest of our programming this week. So with that, thank you again, everybody. Feel free to hang back, drop any final thoughts about the education question in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you shortly. Bye, everyone.
Fantastic. Good. So we'll keep this open. Anybody that wants to hang around, right? Susan, Mike, Kathy, John, people want to stick around, please do. Thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody. We'll see you Wednesday, right? For the alum.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for organizing this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. See you tomorrow night.
Looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you so much.